Hello there, ladies and gents, gals and guys. We're getting started on another video about how to heal from childhood narcissistic abuse. And I'm going to talk about complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And I want to basically share my 2 cents on how we can deal with this issue, having been raised in very unstable family environments. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that soon I will be launching the Inner Mastery Lab, which is a program created specifically for children of narcissists who have been living in their false self throughout their lives and being out of touch with their emotions, their true desires, and their own perception of reality. They naturally feel disempowered and lost, right? Maybe very anxious, very depressed. And they don't understand how their family life has contributed and is still contributing to them feeling this way, even when they don't even have contact with their family anymore. So if you are flabbergasted about the level of pain that you're still feeling from having been raised in a family where there was a narcissistic dynamic, then you will probably benefit greatly from the Inner Mastery Lab. I have not only been there, done that, right? So my work is autobiographical. I went through the experience of being raised by a narcissistic family, and I was able to break free and build a sense of self and build a completely new reality for myself that's actually light and enjoyable, and I can be spontaneous and free, and I make decisions that I actually enjoy and don't feel suffocated by. If you want to have a similar experience in your life, feeling safe in your own skin, actually trusting your own perception of things, taking yourself seriously, and being courageous enough to eliminate the people, relationships, situations, environments, and things that are no longer aligned with your essence. If you feel like you don't have the wisdom or the courage to make that move, but you're ready for it, then come be part of the Inner Mastery Lab. It'll be a very productive way of starting 2020. If you acquire the program in 2019, you will be able to get the benefit of discount prices, but as soon as January comes around, the prices will go up. So if you want to be part of the program, just click on the link below, add your name to our list, and I will be getting in touch soon with more information. So complex post-traumatic stress disorder. What the heck is complex post-traumatic stress disorder? Well, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about what it is. This is more about what to do about it, but I do have to describe it for you. So we all know what post-traumatic stress disorder is. It's when you've had a very traumatic experience. Maybe you were kidnapped, or you went to war, or whatever, you were raped, something horrible happened. And when we are in a really terrifying situation, our nervous system wants to protect us, and then it activates that fight, flight, or freeze response. And in order to be able to deal with the challenge, there's a number of physiological reactions that prepare our body for the fight or flight or freeze response. So that means that you're always on edge. You experience a higher level of anxiety than other people, right? Because you're always expecting danger. And when something that reminds you of the traumatic experience pops up in your life, you have a very strong reaction to it when other people might not have such a very strong reaction. And then it also takes longer than it would take for other people for you to calm down again. So this is what happens when you have post-traumatic stress disorder. You have flashbacks of the traumatic event, you're on edge. It takes a while, might take a year, a couple years, a while, for your nervous system to go back to normal and for you to walk around the world feeling like it's a safe place and life is a safe place and everything is okay. Now what happens with complex post-traumatic stress disorder is that on top of making your nervous system always be on alert and always expect danger, and this is really bad for your body, because through constant basically you might reach adrenal fatigue. You're always producing cortisol, and you're producing a number of other hormones that actually generate certain responses in your body, and your body was not meant to be having those responses consistently over years, right? Because these surges of hormones and chemicals were designed to pop up at isolated events. Now, let's say that you did not have one traumatic event. Your entire childhood was traumatic, or you're coming from an experience of many years of dealing with abuse or dealing with very, very painful experiences, particularly during the first few years of your life where, you know, your personality was being formed and all of that. The difference between post-traumatic stress disorder and complex post-traumatic stress disorder is you're not just going to be expecting danger all the time. If you have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and many people who were raised in narcissistic families have this, this is also going to affect the way that you view reality. And this is the detail we need to pay attention to. The way the people who have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, they see themselves as not good enough. It's as if life were a challenge that they were not equipped to deal with. And this causes so much pain because they're alive, right? So every second is a reminder of how ill-equipped to deal with reality itself you are. Complex post-traumatic stress disorder makes the person change the way that they view themselves. They see themselves as not good enough, as pieces of shit, as guilty even for the abuse, right? Their perception of reality is completely skewed. And they see life as a dangerous place. They don't feel that life has got their back. They start seeing people as danger, as potentially dangerous, as things that will potentially bring them more pain, right? And everything, all of life, and even themselves, is met with this experience of this fear, right? And of not being good enough. Okay, so when you have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, you have the challenge of calming down your nervous system so you're not stressed out and anxious and expecting danger all the time. And you also have the challenge of changing the way that you see yourself and the way that you see life. Having said that, I want you to imagine that you found a wounded dog in the street. Maybe you found a dog that was clearly abused. He was beaten up. Yeah, when you try to pet the dog, he thinks you're gonna hit him, so he bites you. And if he hears a noise or something falls on the floor, the dog gets all scared and runs off and hides under the bed for the rest of the day. This is like, imagine that if you were raised in a narcissistic family, you're like this dog. You were beaten up so badly that everything is dangerous for you. And you wouldn't expect this dog to trust life, trust people, open up, feel safe, like at the drop of a hat. Clearly, this is going to take some time. And when you're looking at it like, oh, I'm ready to give that dog the patience, the love, the time that it needs in order to feel safe just existing. You have the patience with that dog because you understand what it's been through. But we don't normally have that same level of patience with ourselves when we have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, because this is coupled with being a perfectionist. And when you're a perfectionist, you're not allowed to make mistakes. So oftentimes I will see children of narcissists who start reading up on narcissism and on how to recover, and they confuse having understood certain things at an intellectual level with already having a different ability to respond to the situation. It takes a while between the moment where you understand something intellectually and the moment that you can actually have a different response to it, right? Because your system is programmed for pain. So the first thing is that I would like to say in this video is if you have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, what you're going to need to train is eternal patience. Eternal patience with yourself. And this means specifically that you're going to interpret repetitive situations that you don't know how to deal with yet as an opportunity to train what you need to train in order to feel safe again. What do I mean by this? Instead of being like beating yourself over the head, beating yourself up because, oh, I can't believe I made the same mistake again. God damn it, why do I have the same problem? Look, so long as the same issue is showing up for you, it means that you haven't acquired the ability that you need to acquire. You haven't trained the new ability that you need to train, because if you'd already learned the lesson that you need to learn with that experience that is repetitive in your life, it would stop repeating itself. And so this is the number one thing. Interpret repetitive situations that are painful as an opportunity for you to respond to them differently than you did in the past. And if it takes 1 year or 10 years for you to reprogram your behavior, then every time the same situation appears in our lives, instead of being like, damn it, I'm imperfect, I can't believe I didn't learn this already, we have to be like, wait a second, I'm that dog that was beaten up. I'm not going to be cruel to that dog. I know he needs time, he needs patience, and you're going to be like, thank you, life, for giving me one more opportunity to train what's missing, right? So that's number one. Reinterpret every obstacle in your life as part of your personalized healing curriculum. And I have a video on that. I'll put it in the link below, and it's called How to Face Any Obstacle. Because if for your mental health, if you think that you're dealing with repetitive situations because you're crappy, you're not worthy of anything better, you are going to be doing the same thing to you that your parents did to you. So that's number one, okay? Have a long-term sort of recovery plan. Do not expect overnight changes. And when you start being perfectionistic, remember to see yourself as that wounded dog that was beaten up for years. And then you're going to understand how cruel it is for you to be treating yourself with the same cruelty. The other thing that I would like to share, and I don't see this shared a lot in videos about CPTSD, is that fear is something that is experienced first and foremost in the mind, because it is your mind that identifies something as dangerous. And then there's the physiological reactions and the hormones and all of those things that are activated in order for you to deal with the dangerous situation. So I truly believe that if you try to fix the situation in your head, you're going to get nowhere. Because if you're just in your head over and over and over again, you're not going to stop the train of thought, the compulsive, repetitive train of thought that is generating the fear in the first place. What I want to make clear in this video is that I really believe that people with complex post-traumatic stress disorder have to have some sort of activity that involves their body, and an activity through which they learn how to consciously and at will calm down their nervous system wherever they're at. So be it yoga, deep belly breathing, right? Meditation, dancing, or all sorts of other cardiovascular activities that involve movement of the whole body. People with complex post-traumatic stress disorder need to be able to calm themselves down wherever they're at. If you feel like the anxiety takes over you and you don't know what to do, you're never going to feel like life is a safe place. So take the time to learn the physical activity that eliminates the repetitive thought process and takes your focus from your thoughts and puts it in your body. For me, this was taking singing lessons, because then I had to learn how to breathe properly, and I learned that I did not know how to breathe at all, and that's why I was always anxious. I felt like I was suffocating. And it was also dancing. I pole dance as a hobby. I have a pole at home. And I learned that I was not present in my body because I would dissociate, and I would tell my body to do something and it wouldn't. And until I was able to calm down and be physically in my body and breathe and wait for my nervous system to get nice and calm, life always seemed like just an endless series of danger. So that's number two, okay? Number one is adapt your recovery plan for the long term, and never interpret a repetitive situation as if you're not good enough. Always be like, oh, repetition. What does this entail? It means that I should be extra loving because I would not kick a wounded dog I found in the street in the head just because it wasn't healing fast enough. The second thing it means is that you must find a way of physically calming your nervous system down. You need to be the sort of person who is at the mall, in traffic, at your job, starts feeling super anxious and you know what to do at that moment to calm down. Go look for meditation, yoga, deep breathing, whatever. There's got to be a physical aspect to calming yourself down that doesn't involve just taking a pill, okay? What else? The other thing I want to make perfectly clear is that you will never recover from post-traumatic stress disorder if you have internalized your abusers and you're talking to yourself the same crappy, abusive way that your parents or your caretakers talked to you when you were a child. So we need to identify the inner talk that is telling us you're not good enough, you're dumb, you shouldn't, your perception of things is always wrong, you're crazy, you're exaggerating things, you know, all of those things that make you feel like, oh, wait a second, maybe this environment isn't abusive, maybe I'm just the wrong one. But whenever you're in the environment, you want to kill yourself because it's so damn stressful. We have to do this whole process of reprogramming our inner thoughts. It doesn't matter what sort of external changes you make. You might even cut contact with your abusive family or partner or whatever it is. If you still talk to yourself the way that they did, you will never feel safe in your own skin because you have internalized your enemy and now you are him or her. So this takes time. Learning how to talk to yourself differently, particularly because you probably believe what the voices tell you. They tell you you're a piece of shit and you're like, yeah, I know. If you don't have an act of radical self-love where you're like, wait a second, toxic voice, I'm not listening to you. I am building a healthy voice inside myself. I don't care if my parents didn't give me this voice. I don't care if the environment I grew up in didn't give me this voice. It is my responsibility as an adult to build this healthy voice inside myself so that I am always my best friend. So that's number 3. Number 1, recovery is in the long term. Never being patient. Always interpret repetitive situations as another opportunity for you to strengthen what you did not learn and be patient. Number 2, you have to physically calm yourself down when you're anxious. You will never feel safe if your nervous system goes all crazy and haywire according to triggers, and then you don't know what to do about it in order to calm down. Number 3, you will never feel safe inside your own skin if your enemy is in your thoughts and you're talking to yourself as if you deserved abuse. And what else did I want to talk about? Number 4. Number 4 is give yourself time to actually create a different reality for yourself. What I see that is very common is that sometimes people, they start working with me and they expect and they start noticing all of a sudden, oh my God, Tati, my relationships are toxic. The environment where I work at is toxic. My husband is toxic. All of these things are toxic. But now I can see that I don't want these things. And then this causes tremendous anxiety because your life is still what you created when you were, just aware of your false self. And even if you can see things in a healthier way now, it's going to take a while for you to eliminate the toxic relationships, for you to find a healthier work environment, right? And for you to actually situation by situation change the toxic crap in your life. Maybe if you look at your social area, your area of friendships, of your professional area, your emotional area, everything is wrong. It takes time for you to change those things that are wrong. Don't expect to be able to feel safe and healthy if you're still in the toxic environment. Don't think that it's possible for you to heal yourself in a bubble and keep in touch with all of the toxic people and elements and environments and situations in your life. So you see how it's not just a matter of being able to identify what's toxic, it's a matter of substituting all of that toxic crap with healthier things. And it also takes time for us to discover what healthy is because we don't have a frame of reference, right? So being able to say this is toxic is not the same thing as knowing what isn't toxic. Make it a personal goal to figure out what is the healthy version of every toxic situation in your life. If you don't like your job, be clear on why you don't like it and what would be aligned with your essence. If you don't like your relationships, be clear on why you don't like them and what would be aligned with your essence. If you don't like the way you treat yourself, be clear on what you don't like and find a new frame of reference that you want to create. Okay, so summarizing everything I said here. Number one, healing from complex post-traumatic stress disorder is only done with eternal patience. If you punish yourself, you will be your worst enemy. You gotta keep that healing process kind of focused on the long term. Okay, don't expect overnight success. Number two, physically calm yourself down. Wherever you're at, find a way of doing it. Look into yoga, meditation, breathing, whatever. Number three, reprogram the way that you've been talking to yourself. If you've internalized your enemy, my friend, it's going with you. He or she is going with you wherever you go. Then you can't feel safe. And number four, understand that it takes time to create new relationships, a new work environment, a new family experience, maybe with different family members or with members of a family that you are going to create, right? Okie dokie. So let me know if anything that I said makes sense. I believe that if you accept these things about complex post-traumatic stress disorder, everything is going to become lighter. It's going to become more manageable. It's not going to feel like it's an impossible thing for you to recover from. And you have realistic expectations. Because if you have the wrong expectations, if you expect things from you before the time, before having done the work, which just involves being loving and patient with yourself and courageous, right? You are going to suffer even more. Okay, so let me know if anything I said makes sense to you. Please write your experiences in the comments below. If you like the video, share it, like it, subscribe to the channel. If you want to be part of the Inner Mastery Lab but you're not sure because you want more information, get in touch with me. I will be more than happy to answer all of your questions. And I'd like to remind everyone that you can acquire the Inner Mastery Lab at a discount price until the end of the year. Then the prices will go up and the program starts the second week of January, actually. Okay, ladies and gents, that is all for today. And I will see you around.